The scene was chaotic for a while, with howls and cries from small children and irritated rebukes from Mr. and Mrs. Paul. I also ignored their finger-pointing and leisurely sat down on the couch on my butt. Leah's presence breaks the ice. "Dad, Auntie, what are you doing?" she asked suspiciously. Rachel's face instantly lifted into a smile as she said, "Leah, you're back, nothing major, just Jane finding her way back." Leah's face froze as she finally noticed me on the couch and asked, "Jane Kelly? You're Jane Kelly?" I stood up as well and looked at her levelly. "Ms. Tien, I'll say it one last time, my name is Jane Wilson." Leah still hasn't changed. On the surface, she doesn't fight, like an ice-clear little princess. But in reality, she's the one with the deepest heart in the family. As soon as I came back, one sentence poked me right in the heart. Back then, if she hadn't told Rachel that it's all in the family to be neat and tidy, I wouldn't have been forced to change my last name. After my mother remarried, I was the most obedient one in the family. And it was only that one time that I rebelled against my mother's words for the first time. I cried and got down on my knees and begged my mother not to change my last name. My father had left me little when he died and I couldn't afford to lose my name again. But in the end, it couldn't resist Leah's flippant words. I was still forced to change my name. Then the family said the economy was bad and they couldn't afford to pay for both of us to go to hobby classes at the same time. Mother laughed and said, "Let Leah continue to learn. I saw Leah dancing so well last time, it's a pity not to learn. Jane is so stupid, it's a waste to learn piano." Paul nodded in satisfaction and I was forced to give up the piano. The family piano, which belonged to me alone, was also sold to subsidize the family. But clearly, this is my house and they are the intruders. Obviously, the family can still buy Leah valuable clothes for her to show off at school. Then later, I was adopted and I firmly changed my name back. Leah's expression twisted again for a split second, before she laughed again shortly. "Okay, Jane, I'll remember that." It was like a gentle and tolerant big sister image, and Rachel next to her looked at her and smiled in relief. I laughed too, but it was a sneer. Obviously, I'm her real daughter, but Rachel and Leah are more like mother and daughter. It's been that way since I was a kid. "Leah, the date went well today, didn't it? When are you bringing Mr. Hemmings back for dinner so we can get ready?" As soon as Leah heard Mr. Hemmings' name, a satisfied grin immediately appeared on her face. And she glanced at me condescendingly, lifting her chin in self-possession. "Soon, and he said last time that our house was too far out of the way and that he was going to give me a downtown apartment." Yeah, as expected of Mr. Hemmings, just generous. Julian stopped crying, too, and everyone gathered around Leah to drive away the cold. And I was isolated as if they were the family. And yes, they were supposed to be family. I'm just a stranger who's been lost for 10 years and has burst into their lives. Rachel looked at the color of the sky and suddenly also made a mistake, for the sake of it. "Jane, we didn't prepare for this sudden return of yours, and we don't have any extra room in the house, so look." I laughed too, which was to be expected, but still, I said, "It's okay, I'll just stay in the same room I used to have. I remember, I had a room of my own." As soon as the words were out of my mouth, and ignoring Rachel's alarm, I pushed open the door to the nearest room. The tiny room was filled with all sorts of toys, and there were a few Ultraman models standing arrogantly on the bed, seemingly mocking me. Rachel's face went a shade of green and white as she explained. "Jane, here's the thing, at the time, after you got lost and your brother was born, there wasn't enough room in the house, so I borrowed it." Her voice was getting lower and lower, almost inaudible. It's so ironic that the inspirational mother who has been searching for her daughter for 10 years and still won't give up doesn't even keep a room in her house for her daughter. Before my father died, I was the little princess of the family with the biggest and brightest room in the house. Later, Leah moved into the house and coaxed her mother into wanting to switch my room for a poor reason. I also had to stay silent in the smallest room, and now, I don't even have the smallest one. Paul stepped forward and rounded up the conversation. It's okay, we're all family, let Jane have Leah's room first." Leah frowned, still not saying anything. Instead, I refused. "No need, I'll go back to the dormitory to stay. However, since it's borrowed, it's better to return it quickly, or else it won't be good if others know about it." As much as I look at Leah, I wouldn't be disgusted to put myself in a room with her. You guys don't want people poking you in the back, do you? Paul is clearly a soft and hardcore Phoenix man, but he is the most face-conscious. And he will certainly not let anyone know the true nature of their family underneath their glamorous facade. I left those words, ignoring their ugly faces, and shrugged them off. I also didn't realize that by the time we met again, they had already played their hand.